Before evil ever breathed, before the first human heart beat upon the earth, before darkness knew its own name, there was light, pure, radiant, overwhelming light. And in that light walked a being so magnificent, so impossibly beautiful, that all of heaven stopped to gaze upon him in wonder. His name was Lucifer, the morning star, the bearer of light, God's masterpiece, the seal of perfection, the angel closest to the throne of the Almighty himself. But here's what haunts us. Here's the question that has echoed through eternity. How does perfection become corrupted? How does the most beautiful creation in all existence transform into the source of all evil? How does an angel who walked among the burning coals of God's throne become the enemy of everything holy? This isn't just ancient history. This is the story of how pride can corrupt even the purest heart, how beauty can blind us to truth, how the desire to be worshipped can turn into eternal destruction. And if it happened to the most perfect being ever created, what does that mean for us? Before we dive deeper into this incredible story, I want to ask you something. If this narrative is gripping your heart, if you want to explore more biblical truths that will transform your understanding, please subscribe to this channel, hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear this truth, because what we're about to uncover will shake everything you thought you knew about the battle between good and evil. Now let's go back to the beginning. Heaven was perfect. The seraphim sang with voices like thunder. The cherubim guarded divine mysteries, surrounded by light and glory. Everything moved in flawless harmony, every note in perfect pitch, every movement choreographed by divine love. And then God decided to create something extraordinary, something that would make all of heaven hold its breath. With his own hands, the Creator sculpted his most magnificent work. Scripture tells us that Lucifer was the seal of perfection, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Every precious stone adorned him: onyx, jasper, sapphire, emerald. His voice was celestial music. His light blazed like a sun in the heavens. He didn't just reflect God's glory, he burned with it. God placed him on the holy mountain, walking among the stones of fire, standing in the very presence of the Most High. Lucifer commanded the armies of light. He organized the heavenly choirs. He directed worship toward the Creator with passion and power. Michael the warrior admired his wisdom. Gabriel respected his authority. All of heaven looked upon him and saw God's glory manifest in created form. But something began to change. In the most sacred place in all the universe, beside God's throne, a seed was planted. Not by God, by Lucifer himself. At first, it was barely a whisper, a fleeting thought. Why not me? He began to look at himself instead of his Creator. His own beauty blinded him. His power corrupted him, and in the silence of his heart, pride took root. Here's the terrifying truth. Lucifer didn't become evil overnight. The fall wasn't instantaneous. It was gradual, thought by thought, choice by choice. Day by day, that whisper grew louder. What if my light could shine higher? What if I didn't need to serve? What if I could be worshipped instead? The angels began to notice. Gabriel approached him with concern. Lucifer, brother, what burden weighs upon your heart? Your light grows restless. But Lucifer turned away, hiding the storm raging within him. His voice began to fade from the heavenly choirs. His presence became distant, cold, enigmatic. And then God revealed his plan. A grand assembly filled all of heaven with light. Every angel, great and small, gathered before the throne. God's voice thundered with gentle power. I will create a material universe. Stars, galaxies, planets spinning in perfect harmony. And on one special world called Earth, I will create beings in my own image and likeness. They will be called humans. The angels erupted in wonder and jubilation. But God wasn't finished, and I myself will become flesh. The second person of the Trinity, my Son, will take human form. His name will be Jesus Christ. And through that humanity, you will worship me. Silence. Profound, heavy silence fell over heaven. God was asking the angels to worship him not just in his divine power, but in human form, fragile, humble, mortal. The angels began to kneel one by one, accepting God's plan with joy and awe. Everyone except one. Lucifer stood rigid, his gaze fixed on God's throne, his heart filled with silent hatred. Then he spoke one word that echoed like thunder through heaven's silence. No. God looked at him with infinite sadness, but Lucifer's voice rang out again, colder, more defiant. No. He turned to the assembled angels and began to speak with terrifying calm. Don't you realize this is a mistake? Can't you see that what God asks of us is absurd? He asks us to worship an inferior form, to bend our knees before mortal flesh. This is not glory, this is humiliation. His words were intelligent, persuasive, seductive. Seeds of doubt began to sprout in angelic hearts. We who were made of pure light should occupy a higher place, not lower ourselves. Some angels began to listen. Some began to wonder. Some began to question. Then a voice cut through the deception like a sword. Who is like God? It was Michael the archangel. With just 3 words, he shattered Lucifer's spell. 3 words that exposed the fatal flaw in rebellion. 3 words that reminded every angel who they were and to whom they owed their existence. You are consumed by pride, Michael declared. Your light has turned to darkness. You're trying to extinguish God's light. Can't you see that you're placing yourself above him? Lucifer felt the truth and pierced his heart. But instead of repenting, rage consumed him. He withdrew, and in the darkness of his isolation, he continued his work of corruption. He whispered to other angels. He promised them dignity, freedom, greatness. Why should we humble ourselves for something made of clay? And they listened. One by one, the most beautiful, the wisest, the most powerful angels followed him. A third of heaven's host joined his rebellion. Lucifer built an army not with lies alone, but with twisted truth, with promises of liberation, with appeals to pride and self-exaltation. Then came the moment that changed everything forever. The battle erupted in heaven. Michael led the faithful angels against Lucifer's rebel army. The clash shook the foundations of creation. Swords forged of light struck against each other, creating flashes that lit up the heavens like shooting stars. Every blow, every impact, every collision sent shockwaves through the universe. Lucifer fought with relentless fury, his golden radiance blazing across the battlefield. But the faithful angels, though outnumbered, fought with a strength beyond physical power. They fought with the presence of God himself. Michael stepped forward, his eyes locked on Lucifer. It's your pride that has blinded you, and it's not my light that will stop you. It's the will of God, the light of truth, justice, and order that you cannot corrupt. This war is over. Suddenly, a radiance so brilliant it eclipsed. All others burst forth on the horizon. Divine light pierced through heaven, and Lucifer fell to his knees, broken by the power of God's glory. His angels, seeing their leader defeated, surrendered. Michael raised his sword and pronounced the final words, "By the power of God, fall, Lucifer." And he fell. He fell like a banished meteor, cast into the abyss, along with a third of heaven's angels. The most beautiful beings ever created were thrown into darkness, into a place where God's glory could neither be seen nor felt. Heaven fell silent. The victory was complete, but the wound ran deep. In that darkness, Lucifer took on a new name. He ceased to be the bearer of light and became Satan, the enemy, the adversary. The sadness he felt was beyond any physical pain. To be completely separated from God's love was agony beyond description. But instead of repenting, his sadness transformed into hatred, and that hatred became purpose. If he couldn't have heaven, he would destroy what God loved most, humanity. Satan's first great act of sabotage happened in the Garden of Eden. Disguised as a serpent, he approached Eve with cunning words dripping with seduction. Has God really said you shall not eat from any tree in the garden? He planted doubt, he twisted truth, and then he made his promise. You will not die, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God. The same desire that corrupted Lucifer, he used to corrupt humanity. The desire to be like God without obedience. Adam and Eve fell, and with them sin entered the world. But Satan didn't stop there. When Jesus Christ was born, Satan's hatred intensified. He remembered he hadn't been chosen. This human child, fragile and vulnerable, was God's chosen one. After Jesus fasted for 40 days in the wilderness, Satan appeared, attacking him at his weakest moment. He tempted Jesus with bread, with power, with all the kingdoms of the world. But Jesus stood firm. Away with you, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God, and him only you shall serve. Satan was defeated again, but his war continued. Throughout history, he has worked to turn people away from God, to infiltrate human hearts with pride, envy, and despair, the same feelings that led to his own downfall. Yet the book of Revelation reveals his final destiny. The disciple John saw the end of Satan's story. At the return of Christ, Satan will be bound in chains and thrown into the abyss for 1,000 years. When released for a short time, he will gather one final rebellion, but fire will descend from heaven and devour his army instantly. Then comes his eternal sentence. Satan will be thrown into the lake of fire and sulfur, where the beast and the false prophet already await him. And the Bible declares with chilling finality, they will be tormented day and night forever and ever. The one who was once the bearer of light, the morning star, the seal of perfection, will be reduced to eternal ashes in the lake of fire. His tragic journey is complete. From the throne room of heaven to the lake of fire, from the most beautiful creation to the darkest shadow in the universe. But here's what we must understand. Lucifer's story isn't just about an angel who wanted to be like God. It's a warning for all of us. Pride can corrupt even the purest heart. Beauty can blind us to truth. The desire for worship instead of worship can lead to eternal destruction. Yet God's victory is absolute. His love is invincible, and his kingdom will be established in eternal glory, where goodness reigns without pain or darkness, where everything responds to his perfect will. The same heaven where Lucifer once walked among the stones of fire will be restored, but this time evil will be gone forever, and God's children will dwell in his presence for all eternity. This is the story of how the most glorious angel who ever existed became the eternal enemy of God. And it's a reminder that no one, no matter how beautiful or powerful, can equal the Creator. His love cannot be defeated, his truth cannot be corrupted, and his victory is already won.